here, okay, they're trying to show you that it's going to go to both the left and the right and return to my heart from left and right. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, it doesn't just go to one lung, it goes to both. So, blood flow enters into the pulmonary trunk. From there, it goes into the lungs. In the lungs, it's going to get oxygenated. Oxygenated blood from the lungs has to return to the left side of the heart. So note, they're trying to show that it's returning from both the left and the right lungs to the left atria. From the left atria, it has to go to the left ventricle. From the left ventricle, it moves. Now, they've kind of, lightens the color here because we can't really get a full view because the aorta is behind the pulmonary artery. Okay, so blood flows to the aorta. From the aorta, the branching immediately occurs right there at the arch, going to upper head, upper neck, upper arms, head, all right? And then it begins to descend, all right? From the aortic arch, it goes into the descending aorta. From the descending aorta, we're going to find it go into my systemic circuit. From the systemic circuit, it has to come back to my inferior, superior vena cava and start the whole process again. Happens every heartbeat. Every heartbeat.
Does that have a lot to do with on the test to get into the...
Yes. I try my best to focus on the areas that are going to be important to your test. And without knowing heart flow, because everything is dependent. I mean, like I said, heart stops, you stop. You're not going to know it anymore, but it's important.
I was asking if the pulmonary valve is it like the same as the AV valve, like the
Now, pulmonary, like in other words, from the right atria going to that pulmonary artery, all right, that is a semilunar. All right, the AV is where blood goes from atria to a ventricle. That's your AV.
No, I was asking if like the reflex are the same material. Are they both tendons or no?
No. Now, so far as their makeup, it's similar, but with the AV valves, they are going to be the ones that have the tendinous cords. The semilunars don't. In other words, the valves covering those great arteries don't. Now, that is circulation to my lungs and then everywhere else. But wait a minute. The heart itself is an organ. The heart itself is made up of tissues. The heart itself has cells. Cells that function, meaning they need oxygen and nutrients, and they produce waste that it needs to get rid of. That means it also has to have circulation. The circulation to the organ of the heart itself is going to be my coronary circulation. This is the circulation from all of the arteries and veins that you see on and around the heart. This is my coronary circulation. Is everybody with me? So, one of the things that I have to have to this organ is an artery supply. Because the arteries carry blood somewhere. Veins return it. So if I look back at my cusps, my valves, right here, I have arteries that are going around, down, feeding this organ. So it has to have blood supply from somewhere. My aorta from the left ventricle has openings that make it to my coronary artery. And from there, I can begin the circulation to the tissues of my heart, the organ itself. So, my aorta gives off a right and a left coronary artery. Oh, coronary artery. Anybody ever heard of this before? Ever known somebody who had a heart attack, a bypass, a heart blockage? They're usually told left or right, and then their artery that the issue might be. Okay? This is what they're talking about. This is the circulation they're referring to. So, it gives rise to a left and a right coronary artery. On my left side, all right, this side of my heart, it has to branch into an anterior interventricular branch, because if you look, all right, and we get the branching, I have to feed tissues on the front part of my left side. Does that make sense? All right. Then I have a circumflex going around, all right, artery that's going around front and back like a circle, because circumflex means a circle, okay? Goes around the left side in this coronary sulcus, because we mentioned the coronary sulcus going all the way around. It'll give rise to a left marginal, coming down the left margin of it. Is everybody following me in my terminology? Okay? Helps to furnish to my left ventricle. I don't know about y'all, but I like that. Okay? The circumflex, the one that goes around, also supplies my left atria, and then the posterior wall of the organ. The right, coming off on this side, will help supply my right atria and then my SA node, my sinoatrial node. Ever heard of that? What is it?
I don't know. I just know it's like the firing of something.
The pacemaker of the heart. We're going to come back to that. So my RCA, my right coronary artery, supplies my right atria, the SA node. It branches to a marginal branch for the right, helps with giving posterior branches so that I supply the posterior and anterior of the right side of my heart. Have I pretty much covered all portions of this organ for blood supply? I have covered atria front and back, ventricles front and back, as well as the side. Yes, that is my coronary blood supply. Bypass surgery? Is that familiar? I had to have bypass surgery. They might just say I had to have bypass. Or maybe I had to have a double bypass. Or I had to have a triple bypass. Or the great big huge whammy, quadruple bypass. Why do I now have quadruple bypass? I got 4. What about my artery structure? I got 4. Does that make sense now? Now do you see why I'm stressing this so heavily? Because some people, this can happen very early in life. 20s and have to have a bypass. Yeah, even earlier sometimes. You now know what they mean when they tell you they had a bypass. Because the bypass means that they had to come in to one of these areas and had to change where the artery is located because that area got cut off. Ka-ching! No more blood flow. That means the tissues and cells that it supplied no longer function. They had a heart attack. And the only way, well, not the only way, but one of the ways that they can route the blood flow somewhere else to keep the heart a little healthier, take it and move it to another part of the heart. And if they had it just a bypass, single, it only happened at 1 spot. Double, 2 spots. 3, triple. Quadruple, 4 spots.
So for women, you know how you say our heart attack symptoms are in different places?
Mm-hmm.
So is that why we don't survive basically because it's like in our back somewhat?
Yes.
So when they have to, if they don't catch it early enough, they can't
They can't fix it. Yeah. Doctors are beginning to recognize that the symptoms for women are different and not poo-poo them as much and pay attention. So hopefully that will continue to happen. Talon, hold on, Brian. Talon?
Now these are feeding into the actual muscle itself, not
Yes.
feeding into the flow for the rest of the body or the lungs.
The actual tissues and muscle themselves of the heart. Right?
How are those arteries getting cut? Or
How do they what?
how do they get